This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. On today's show, we've got your Wrestlemania episode. This is WrestleMania's 38th Go Home podcast. Saturday and Sunday will be jam-packed with WrestleMania. We've got some rumors that are swirling about WrestleMania, so you want to stay tuned for some of those, as well as who All Elite Wrestling may be targeting for their women's division, as well as a monster argument that happened with this superstar and Tony Khan backstage. We've got the insights and the lowdown on all of that. Of course, we're going to give you our predictions for a jam-packed two-night event for WrestleMania, but I got to bring the doc in here. We had such good shit, to steal a line from Vince McMahon, on Friday night as far as wrestling goes. There was Smackdown, which I kind of thought was the worst of the bunch. We had we had Rampage, I apologize. We had Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, which was amazing. I only got to take a little bit of it in, but I was supremely impressed. And we had the Hall of Fame. How did you spend your Friday? Were you able to take it all in, or were you similar to me, where you took bits and pieces in of everything?
Bits and pieces of everything. I love Kenny and his updates regarding Ring of Honor, the Supercard. Wow. It just is special because it just goes to show you that someone understands the value of Ring of Honor, and you had a major surprise. That always is great. And then, for me, I was a little bit more looking forward to the WWE Hall of Fame. I love the speeches, the nostalgia, the crowd. Kind of kicks off WrestleMania weekend. Scott Steiner delivered an unusually weird speech with mooing and cows. You had a lot of emotions. The Undertaker
You got to
speech,
check it out, you said.
You got to check out Scott Steiner because it's so uniquely weird in that the man is incoherent, but that's what we love. That's kind of what we wanted, but we wanted it with numbers and big bad booty daddies. He kind of kept it PG. It had the feel of something that was talked to him like, okay, be Scott Steiner, ultra light. But he did say, you guys gave me an open mic. Are you crazy? But it was good to see Braun Breaker introduce the Steiner brothers. And it was just nostalgia. And the Undertaker's 45-minute or so speech was motivational, legendary, and he broke character. He did it as Mark Calloway. But the thing that you could take away from it, which leads into WrestleMania, is after his legendary speech where he goes back through memory lane, tells stories, tells all the tales about, stuff with the boys, his friends, memories, thanking his wife, Vince. He looks back at 4 silhouettes of outfits that he had on that were put on statues. He goes back to it, puts it on, and he goes into the microphone, never say never, to which the crowd erupted. They were like, oh my God. And right away, Marks were like, wait a minute, there's an unnamed opponent for Seth Rollins on Saturday. Should it be just a swerve? Because you do know it's a weekend-long event. Should it be a swerve? I think Cody Rhodes obviously is going to be involved at WrestleMania. But do you delay the gratification? Would you get a bigger pop if you bring out Cody maybe on Sunday and maybe costs Brock Lesnar the title and forms an alliance with, don't you think Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, led by Paul Heyman, wouldn't be one of the baddest factions of all time? Maybe not having a match, maybe just coming back to just not being involved or debuting on the Monday. I don't think so. I think the payoff has to be a WrestleMania moment. I think they want to bring him back as a face, but you can do a lot of different things with Cody Rhodes. Should The Undertaker lace it up one more time for nostalgia's sake and just come down, beat Seth Rollins' ass, and call it a day?
I mean, this is something that we discussed a couple of weeks ago in our build to WrestleMania, and I don't know, man. It was such an emotional speech. I sat on the edge of my seat watching it for the 45, 60 minutes, however long it was, and I was just glued and gripped to it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And you're right, he did break character. He wasn't The Undertaker. He was Mark Calloway, and he did such a fantastic job of thanking everybody and basically just connecting and reconnecting with everybody. I thought it was a wonderful, masterful job that he did with his Hall of Fame speech. The thing is, watching him get down to the ring, and there are stories of this man basically being on the medical table, 2 IVs in him. The guy can hardly keep his head up, and them coming to him and being like, Taker, it's time. And then having 4 and 5 guys have to get him dressed, and then lead him to Gorilla just to get him to the opening of the stage so he can go out. So he can put his hat on, and once he puts that hat on, he magically transforms, and then he goes and tears the house down for 25 minutes. This is a guy who was just dead on a medical table a few minutes ago, but now he's going out there putting on the best match of the night. So do I think he can get up for a WrestleMania against Seth Rollins? I sure as hell do. Do I think it should be him? Probably not. And it's just because watching him make his way to the ring, you could see it's a little bit of a hitch in the giddy up. It's a little bit slower. It would be badass to see him one more time, but we can say that about everybody. I mean, I don't think you're as invested in the Stone Cold Kevin Owens match as I am, but I want to see Stone Cold one more time. You always want to see these guys one more time. At some point, it just doesn't pay dividends anymore, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense because physically, they're just not able to do it. And I think at this point, The Undertaker, it's probably best for him to ride off into the sunset, because how many WrestleMania matches are we going to have that are going to be his last WrestleMania match? You go back 3 years ago, it was Roman Reigns. And then you fast forward a little bit, he has another one against AJ Styles. You know, how many more of these last rides are we going to have for The Undertaker at WrestleMania? So I think it would be a huge pop. I think the ovation would be crazy. That man got a 10-minute standing ovation last night. It was bonkers. There was a point where everybody kind of quieted down a little bit after about 10 minutes, and he could have just been like, okay, thanks, good night, and just walked off, and everybody would have been fine with it. So I do think it'd be a great pop. I don't know if it's what should be done, though. I think you have to get Cody Rhodes involved. It's been the most anticipated. It's been the most hyped. It's been the worst kept secret. But I do think you have a point where you could bring him in on Monday, because you know those Mondays after WrestleMania are always the most highly rated. They're usually one of the best shows, and you would get everybody buzzing in the wrestling world if you talked about Cody Rhodes on Monday Night Raw. So I think you have a point. It could go a couple of different ways. Speaking of Monday Night Raw, I thought this was our best Monday Night Raw that we've had in probably 3 years. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was so well done. And you juxtapose that with what we got on SmackDown on Friday night. I thought SmackDown, out of everything that we went through and named, you could have watched Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor. You could have watched the Hall of Fame. You could have watched Rampage. Or you could have watched SmackDown. I spent 2 hours watching SmackDown. I kicked myself in the ass for watching SmackDown. I thought SmackDown was absolute trash, especially compared to what we got on Monday Night Raw, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Honestly, I think Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor was where it was at. You talked about a surprise appearance, and that was Samoa Joe coming back to Ring of Honor. He will be on Dynamite this Wednesday. I thought it was a fantastic way to incorporate him. Thought it was a fantastic way to kind of just get things off and running. I thought Friday night was a magical night for a wrestling fan. As far as the Hall of Fame goes, I thought it was great. I thought Undertaker was awesome. I'll be honest with you. Were you a little disappointed Vince didn't cry?
No, the man's 70. I mean,
I was disappointed he didn't cry.
No, he tried. He's emotional. He's a businessman.
Has no tears.
He tries to save face, and that's the number one thing, is that he's trying to uphold the standard of the leader of a company. And he's a bastion of old school, where crying means that, you've let down your guard in a way that lets you feel like you're out of control. And that's what the highest end business people kind of feel, is that they're always in control. And that's why they have everything under their thumb. They have everything set up the way they want. they're the most uncomfortable when there's things that go on out of control. I mean, look what happened when, unfortunately, Owen had the accident. Things got chaotic, and they kept the shit going instead of just going, oh shit, let's stop and let's end this, instead of letting wrestlers go out there. You know why? Because they're out of control. It wasn't pre-programmed, and so for Vince, it was nice. It's just nice to see, but man, he's getting older by the day. But dude, it's like his body is perfect, but his face is aged. It's crazy.
I thought the same exact thing. I was looking at him and I was like, man, he looks so old. And I'm watching this stuff with really and truly a first time wrestling fan, right? Like Alyssa loves wrestling. She is all in on it, right? When I show up, by the way, I'm taking in Wrestlemania with you on Saturday. We're going to be watching it together. When I show up at your house, you'll see a t-shirt that she bought me. She was out shopping and she's seen it, and she knows a few of the people on the t-shirt, because I sat down with her. I was like, okay, can you name all these people? And she went through and she's like, well, I know this one because you dressed up like that guy for Halloween. And of course, it's Macho Man. So she got it because it had Macho Man on it. But again, she's seeing all these things with basically virgin eyes. So I'm like, man, Vince looks so old. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, physically, the guy looks like he's still a rock. Like, I remember that Muscle and Fitness cover of Vince McMahon just being super jacked. But his face, man, he looks so old and he looks so aged and he just looks tired. He looks like the guy he should be down in Florida relaxing. Instead, this guy's going to die in gorilla. He's going to be in the gorilla position telling somebody to hit somebody's music, and he's going to end up having a heart attack and just dying right there. It's going to be absolutely bonkers. I thought Triple H looked good. Triple H, for a guy who damn near died, looked fantastic at the Hall of Fame inductions. Shawn Michaels looked good. It was great to see all these guys at the Hall of Fame. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a really nice way to really help, I guess, get you in the mood for WrestleMania, for a jam-packed weekend. I stopped and I thought about it, and this is absolutely crazy. Basically, WrestleMania weekend started yesterday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in Dallas. You had your dark matches, then you had Smackdown, then you had your Hall of Fame, which ended up going until about 1 o'clock at night, and then you're going to start it off today with your pre-show that will kick off at 7 o'clock, and it'll probably go until 11, 12 o'clock, and then you're going to do it all over again tomorrow. Also, before, on Saturday, you got Stand and Deliver for NXT. This is such a bonkers weekend. If you are a wrestling fan, this is like the weekend that you dream of. I really wish we had 3 hours to do a podcast because there is so much stuff I want to unpack and I really want to get into. But I guess we should probably keep it timely, and we should start talking a little bit about this build to WrestleMania. And I want to talk to you about Kevin Owens and Stone Cold. And there are a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation, and we go through and do our predictions. I've got this listed as our main event for night one. Does Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin deserve to main event the first night of Mania? And if not, who do you think deserves it?
No, I don't think so. I think it should be a moment. You got to remember, too, definitely timing of matches is important, but I don't think it's main event worthy. I think it's got to be one of the women's title matches, don't you think?
I do, but like, is it going to be Bianca and is it going to be Becky? Because they're supposed to be on night one.
That's what I'm thinking.
And Charlotte are supposed to be night two.
That's what I'm thinking. It's got to be. I think it's fair because Charlotte and Ronda Rousey are great, but everyone knows that Brock Lesnar has to be the last guy.
Oh, so for sure.
It has to be Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair to be the finisher. I think maybe you could have it before, you tease it, but this show, I think just real quickly going into our preview. Night one looks a lot more entertaining than night two. You got Miz and Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, the tag team champs, Smackdown champs. It just is going to be on Sunday. I think that night one has the potential to do a lot of good things, in regards to the matchup here. So I think that there's a great opportunity for, I don't know. I'm thinking here, looking at the card, there's a chance, you could do it, but I just think that the matchup that just seems like the headliner is going to be Becky Lynch.
Yeah, and look, I think you're right. At some point, I believe a women's match has to main event. And we already know what the main event for night 2 is going to be. It's going to be Brock Lesnar. It's going to be Roman Reigns. That has been set in stone for months now. At this point, I think Kevin Owens has done such a fantastic job. He's been the only one really getting this over. Like, Stone Cold basically delivered a response, and after that, it's been Kevin Owens carrying this every week, getting you a little bit more interested, getting you a little bit more on the edge of your seat, wondering a little bit more if this is going to actually be a fight, or is this just going to be a gimmick bit where they have the KO show. And look, I hope to hell it's not the KO show. I hope it is actually a match. We still don't know. We're on the day of WrestleMania, and we still don't know what we're going to get here, which I think is a little bit screwy. And you talked about control, and I don't know if this is completely out of Vince's hands. I don't know if this is completely in Stone Cold's hands. I don't know what this is, but it has me wondering. And I think for Kevin Owens deserves the main event just because of all the heavy lifting he's had to do. But I think you're right. It should be a women's match, and because of that, it should probably be Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch, which I thought was a fantastic way on Monday Night Raw. I thought it was a fantastic way to kind of add a little bit more sizzle, a little bit more spice. And I've got a stipulation. I wonder what you think of this. I've got a stipulation that I think should be added to this match, and I've got an idea about this match, and I want to get your opinion on it. After Becky Lynch takes the scissors into the ring, and then Bianca Belair uses those scissors on Becky Lynch to cut her hair. By the way, I don't know if you've seen Becky Lynch's new haircut. It's awful. I was really hoping she would do something dramatic, maybe go with some cool short hair, but she did not. Anyways, I think this should be a hair versus hair match. I think that would be a nice stipulation. It would really amp it up. And to add to that, Bianca Belair used the scissors on Becky Lynch. That's a heel move. Babyfaces don't do that. Do you possibly think that we have the double swerve where you've got Becky going face and you got Bianca going heel, and they switch roles? What are your thoughts on this? You
could, but I just got to feel that WrestleMania this year has to have the vibe of the popular people are getting over more cheers. I mean, that's kind of what we've seen the last couple of years, where throughout the year there's a lot of swerves, there's a lot of things that we get that we don't like. WrestleMania this year, I think, gives us and delivers where Bianca Belair is the winner and the crowd is cheering. And I think that even though you may have that intention of the crowd booing, I think that the crowd wants to cheer for Bianca Belair because of how you build it up. Having a double swerve would be really tough at this point in time because the crowd is so into her. And remember, these are marks. So what reason would they have to boo Bianca Belair beating the ass of the girl that's been taunting her and trying to cost her? I don't see that as a situation that is eliciting that reaction. So it's a great idea, but I think the idea is that Bianca Belair, make her a badass, make her beat her up, and maybe even shave her head. You know, if you want to do something like that. But I think the crowd's going to cheer Bianca. She's very popular.
Yeah, no, she's incredibly popular. My thought process is you've got Stone Cold here night 1. This could be kind of a tip of the cap to Bret Hart, Stone Cold. You've got the women doing it now where Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair end up switching roles, and one becomes face, one becomes heel. And yeah, look here, I think the crowd is going to cheer Bianca Belair no matter what. Even if you get the double swerve where Lynch becomes face and Belair becomes a heel. I would love to see Bianca Belair as a heel. I think she's got enough charisma, and I think she can amplify her charisma and turn it into arrogance, which would make her a fantastic heel. I would love to see this. I just think it would be awesome. I think the stipulation of hair versus hair would be great because this has been a really mediocre build. When we were talking last week, I think both of us were kind of out on this match. I think what took place on Monday night has us a little bit more invested now. And in my thought process, the way I would lay this match out has me even more invested, and has me more invested in Becky Lynch, and has me more invested in Bianca Belair. And that's really what you want when you come out of these pay-per-views. You really want everybody to be really dug in and invested with these characters. I want to get your reaction to what's going on with Bobby Lashley. It was announced on Monday. Bobby Lashley's going to take on Omos. What's Bobby Lashley's value here? Like, what is his value with WWE?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, it's a marketable name. I know it feels like it just got thrown together and he's going to get thrown to the wolves, but he's just right now a badass dude that can potentially maybe now transition to put some people over. I think he should be, if they would have did it right, he could have been the leader of the Hurt Business. But it's a great question you ask, because based on how they just throw him into there with Almost and now he's over, it's just kind of like one of those things where we got this asset, but we don't know how to properly maximize it.
Yeah, and to me, it almost feels as though like there's no real value to him. Like when he was in Impact, he was a valued commodity. When he was in Bellator, he was a valued commodity. When he's in WWE, he seems almost as though he's an afterthought. This is a guy who, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, he was your WWE champion. Gets into a pod, and all of a sudden he gets hurt, and they pull him out. They say it's a concussion. It's actually a shoulder injury. He comes back, and now he's going to go and wrestle arguably against one of the worst wrestlers on the roster in Omos. Like, none of us are impressed with what Omos brings. To me, he just feels like there's little to no value in Bobby Lashley at this point. It's a little bit frustrating. Where do you want to transition here? Is there more you really want to get into on this build to WrestleMania, and that has us invested in WrestleMania? Do you want to talk a little AEW before we get into predictions? Do you want to go into predictions? Where do you want to go? I told you when we started the show in pre-show, we've got a rundown. We're going to kind of throw it out the window, and we're just going to kind of get in the car and drive. Where do you want to go next?
Quickly, Ring of Honor was great. I thought it was very popular. Again, highlighting that what makes Ring of Honor special is that crowd. And to see the dream match with the Briscoes and, was it Briscoes FTR? I thought was spectacular. I thought that you have the opportunity to really, have the crowd surprised. I thought what Ring of Honor can do now moving forward, all you need to do with this card was to get people excited, and that's what they did. Now, AEW on the other side, people brought up the fact that on Dynamite, all the winners were former WWE stars. Was that a mistake this week?
Here's the thing. I didn't even realize that until you said that. It's weird when you look back and you think about it. And I don't know if it's a mistake. This is my hope, right? And this is kind of where I'm at. And we have WCW to look upon for a lot of things that really went well and a lot of things that really went right. And then we also have WCW to look at things that really went wrong and how it went awry very quickly. I think at this point, you and I both believe AEW's roster is a little bit bloated. And we've seen what happens with bloated rosters. There are cuts that are made and guys go away. And we're already starting to see that with like guys like Joey Janela. There'll be a couple of other names that are going to end up going away as well here very shortly. Marco Stunt is one of those as well. But the purchase of Ring of Honor is a way to kind of even out some of that bloat on AEW's roster. It's a way to get some of these younger guys who aren't as over, to give them some work and give them some traction to really build their names up a little bit before they get called up to what we'll call the main roster. ROH is going to technically be the NXT version of AEW. It'll hopefully be a lot better than what we're getting with NXT right now. All that being said, this is going to deviate. I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here. I really wish Tony Khan would keep some of the guys from ROH on that roster. When Tony Khan purchased Ring of Honor, he did not get to keep those contracts. All those contracts went away. I really wish he would keep some of those contracts, guys like Bandito. But there are certain guys that I wish would, like Jonathan Gresham's another name that I wish would stay. Matt Taven is another guy that I wish would stay on that Ring of Honor card or in that organization, and they could use them and build them and then bring them to AEW, and you have this back and forth doorway where guys go from Ring of Honor to AEW to Ring of Honor, and you're getting a ton of time. That's what I would hope would happen here. All right, having guys from WWE, old WWE wrestlers, win the entire week worth of matches. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing if it's going to serve a bigger purpose of telling a story. The problem I have is, could some of those guys have lost, and would it have made a difference? I don't think it would have. I don't think if they would have lost, I don't think it would have changed anything. So could you have had them take an L? Yeah, you probably could have. But if it tells a bigger story, like I am gripped by what's going on with FTR. FTR worked heel last night on Ring of Honor's Supercard of Honor. But they are working AEW, they are working as baby faces. And I think it's great. And in this case, you help establish their story. Like, them winning helps further their story. On top of it, it helps further the breakup with MJF. So I think that's important, and I think that's necessary, and I think that's needed. You know, if you go to Rampage, Keith Lee ends up getting the win, and I don't necessarily know if Keith Lee needed the win. I think Hobbs could have used the win more than Keith Lee could have used the win, and they did a really good job of packaging it because Hobbs hits his finisher, and Keith Lee is down for probably 7 seconds, but the referee's not involved and can't make the count. When Hobbs gets the referee back in the match, that's when Keith Lee ends up hitting his finisher and he gets the victory. So you did a good job of setting it up to where the loss doesn't look bad, but really and truly, I feel like Hobbs needs a big win, and that's a guy who's not a WWE wrestler who could have got the win, and you could have continued that story. You could have did something with that story, and Hobbs could have got the win. So I don't necessarily think it was a huge mistake to kind of get back to your question, but I have concerns, and I'm starting to see some red flags, and I hope those red flags don't become more red flags and become bigger red flags, because we love AEW. We think AEW is fantastic. We don't want AEW to go the way of WCW, and it's still very, very early, and I think our concern is it becomes WCW 2.0.
Exactly. But you gotta highlight the people that got you to the dance, and maybe that's an indication of what maybe bothered Cody Rhodes. Was that the vision went quickly from indie? I mean, look, and this is something you and I have discussed, back in the day. There's a vision of corporate goals and there's a vision of idealistic purpose. And AEW started off as friends trying to help the wrestling business do their thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. But you got to remember, the owner is looking to turn a profit as well. Look, Tony Khan is not spending his time altruistically because of his love of wrestling. Yes, he loves wrestling, and this is something that he wants to fulfill. But he took his daddy's money to do this. He took money to try and do this. So I would presume, maybe not fully, but you have to kind of assume that maybe Cody Rhodes was like, oh man, Tony Khan is just a younger version of Vince McMahon, but a little bit more pro wrestler, a little bit more pro not wearing the boys out. But Tony Khan needs to turn a profit. So how do you turn a profit? You start bringing in dudes that everybody likes that will potentially bring you money. And maybe Chris Jericho is the highlight of that, where he's the perfect bridge between AEW and WWE. But you got to remember that these guys got to make money, or the lights don't go on, or they don't tour, or they don't have the capability of getting their shit seen. So there's always going to be that yin and yang of like, hey, what's the vision? What's the true nature of things? Because sometimes artistic value doesn't draw money, and that's just the way it is. So Tony Khan is looking at it right now, like, and we've talked about it on the podcast. I got a TV deal I got to renew, and I want to maximize this TV deal. I don't want the same deal. I want to get 3-4-fold for my product. I want to sell it. And right now, though, you got to look at it. And I love the AEW Botches account, which you can never tell me that it's not someone from WWE just sitting there ripping AEW at all times. And it works because it gets seen. They've said AEW has their million fans. They have their fans. But have they really grown with this product? The ratings don't say that. They're not going into 1.7s, 1.8s. They're catering to their fans. How do you grow a product? And maybe there's some dissent there going on, but that's AEW's problem to figure out, and I hope they do, because we love the product, and you and I and Kenny and our friends cannot wait to go hang out at LCA and have a good time and scream our heads off and lose our voice for AEW Rampage and Dynamite to show up at Little Caesars Arena. All right, cuz 14 matches, I believe I counted. I might have missed one or two, but that's a shit ton of matches. Let's get through it. Let's get through it, and obviously we'll talk about the most important ones, but by and large, 14 matches before news and notes. I can't wait to see how it goes, and I can't wait to see how we think this. I think we'll probably see it a little close to the vest in this, but we'll see how it goes. All right, let's go. Night one. What's going to happen tonight when the crew gets there and comes over and watches it? WrestleMania And two, you know what's fun? The entertainment setup allows me to put the computer up where we can check out Duke and Carolina around 8:30 as well.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so I can put the computer. I'll put a laptop. On the stand there, so you can peek periodically at Duke as well. Because I mean, it's the first time ever Duke's taken on Carolina in the tournament. You can't miss it. So I'm going to have two laptops to the right and left set up there. We can watch some Final Four as well. But the big entertainment center will have WrestleMania, baby, and downstairs, upstairs. So it'll be a fun night. What do you got? Night one. What do we got?
Before we get to predictions, if you had to pick a show to watch this week, what show would it be?
It'd be Raw. It was good. Raw was good. It was a good show, good build, and just enough to get you really excited. Even though you'll explain later, there's a little bit of chaos, but I thought they did a good job. The 3 hours kind of did go by pretty fast.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Raw as well. It was neck and neck between Raw and Dynamite. If I had to pick something to watch, it would be Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor, because I thought that was the best thing all week long. That's not one of our wrestling shows, though, but we'll give it to Raw. So Raw and Dynamite each have one. Let's get into these predictions. Night one. This is the match that we both feel should be main eventing night one, the Raw Women's Championship. Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. I have an idea of who you have winning this, and it's probably the same person I have winning this, but I'm going to go Bianca Belair for the Dubski. Who do you have?
And new Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. Yeah, I mean, you screwed her last SummerSlam. Come on. This build is perfect for her to win. Get the crowd over. Bianca wins it.
Awesome. The Miz and Logan Paul versus the Mysterios. Who do you have winning this one?
Man. Guys, I have to tell you, WWE Evil is really good on Peacock. I think it's amazing. I think it highlights what a heel can do and elicit reaction. And The Miz was just an hour of pure, I've been disrespected. It's just motivational for someone like me. It relates a little bit to the podcast story and shit like that. But by and large, The Miz, he's had a career. He's never been cut. He's been there. Do I think he deserves to be in this match? No. He should be featured way more with the likes of Edge and AJ Styles. But right now, he's babysitting the celebrities. They don't win. I think it's the Mysterios that get the W. I just want to see Logan Paul do a high spot. It's going to be probably the Logan Paul versus Pat McAfee review. Which amateur does better, because Johnny Knoxville's not going to do anything realistically that's going to stand the test of time. So for me, it's going to be the Mysterios.
Yeah, I've got the Mysterios winning this one as well. Kind of agree with you. I'm not really sure why The Miz always ends up in these weird matches. He does a great job with the crap that he's given, and really does spin it into gold, but I think it sets up for the Mysterios to win this one. I think, don't be surprised if at the end, they were doing a lot of talk about this on Monday Night Raw, where Dominic hasn't got his mask yet because he has to earn it. Don't be surprised if they win this match and Dominic gets his mask. I see that being a thing. All right, Seth Rollins versus to be determined. Now, it could be Cody Rhodes, could be The Undertaker, could be somebody that I'm going to mention in the news and notes. We don't really know, because there are rumors swirling about who this mystery opponent's going to be. Do you have Seth Rollins winning, or do you take the field?
No, you take the field, and if it's not Cody Rhodes, you're going to have angry booing fans. I mean, come on. Listen, this is one of those things where we all know what's going to happen. They're going to deliver it. We want to hear Cody Rhodes. We want to give him the nice long entrance. It's going to be special. They can't fuck this up. They can't. Now, if it's the person you're going to mention, I'm going to hide the controllers, because I got a feeling I'm going to be put out $2,000 because all of us are going to be jumping up, tipping the TV over. It better not be that. If it's The Undertaker, it'll be cool because the crowd will make it special, but it can't be The Undertaker. You know what? You could have The Undertaker kind of bring it full circle in another angle on Sunday, where he comes in and he fucks Brock Lesnar. Bring it full circle. The one guy who took his rest. Yes. So there's a lot of ways where Cody Rhodes and Undertaker can be used differently, but I can't be The Undertaker. Cody Rhodes has to come in, have a great match, and it's perfect. I was so excited to see that, because it'll be special, because it'll be the first time an AEW performer shows up at WWE at WrestleMania. It's a trump card. It's an amazing trump card, and one in which the marks are going to love it. They're going to cheer for Cody Rhodes. So give me Cody Rhodes in a quality WrestleMania moment.
All right. I like to be determined as well. I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes as well, and I think he has his WrestleMania moment. Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. I think we're both in lockstep. Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's get Drew into something more tangible here.
Can we get rid of his sword, please?
Yeah.
I think it was Kenny who sent a message last night to both of us. Has anybody tried to kill more people as a babyface than Drew McIntyre with that damn sword?
Let's get him into the IC situation or a title situation. Drew McIntyre, baby.
All right. We both got Drewy Mac. All right. SmackDown Tag Team Championships. The Usos, Jimmy and Jay versus Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura. Who do you have winning?
Man, I want Shinsuke to win so bad. Mm-hmm. Rick Boogs would be sweet. It would be a moment, but the Usos, I think you got to carry on this day one-ish. You got to carry on the bloodline. So for me, it's got to be the champs. I mean, it's an amazing story that just keep the simple notion of a tag team holding the belts for that long allows for credibility. So it's just not for Rick Boogs, not yet. Not for them. It's going to be a good match, but I don't see them winning. I don't see it. It could happen, but I don't see it.
This is what's weird to me, because it feels like forever and a day, Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura were on Raw, and then all of a sudden, they're in competition for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Now, I could be wrong here, and we watch so much wrestling that sometimes things get jumbled. Initially, I was going to go Rick Boogs and Shinsuke Nakamura, just because I think it'd be a really good story, and I think that they really do see a lot with Boogs. I think he is a guy that WWE has pinpointed, and they really want to help elevate him. And I think that's part of the reason why pairing him with Nakamura. But these are the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and if I remember correctly, Nakamura and Boogs were on Raw. So unless they're coming over, and I know brand whatever doesn't necessarily matter, but I'm going to go the Usos just because I know they're on SmackDown. I'm 100% sure they belong to the SmackDown brand. I'm not 100% sure that Boogs and Nakamura don't belong to Raw. So I'm going to go with the Usos. Now the SmackDown Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. I'm going to go Ronda Rousey. I think she's been absolute garbage since she's came back to WWE. I've not been impressed by anything, but she is the babyface here. And I think that you put the belt on her, it helps elevate her a little bit more. That way when somebody else comes and takes it off of her, they get elevated a little bit more. Whether it's Charlotte Flair on Friday night or whether it's somebody else down the road. But for right now, I'm going to go Ronda Rousey.
Man, that's tough, isn't it, bro?
It is. There's a lot of difficult picks. Normally we can just fly through these and we know that we hit 100%. This is going to be extremely challenging. There are so many question marks on these cards.
Because you could make an argument for both. Yep. You could make an argument that Charlotte cheats. You can make an argument that you extend this out until the next pay-per-view. You can make a lot of different arguments in regards to how this could go. I'm torn. I really am torn because of the fact that I think that there's an opportunity here for, this is tough. It's a tough card. It's a tough matchup, but I'll agree with you. I think Ronda Rousey, why would she come back if she wasn't going to get the title, right? I mean, that'd be kind of silly to be like, I'm coming back for this build and things like that. So I'll take Ronda Rousey, but I would not be surprised if Charlotte retains.
Yeah, same boat. I could see it going both ways, but I'm just going to lean on Rousey for right now, and we'll see what happens. All right, I have no idea what's happening with this segment. It's Stone Cold. It's Kevin Owens. It's pinned as the KO show hosted by Kevin Owens. I'm holding out hope that we get an actual match. Something changes as the day goes on and it becomes an actual match. You got to pick somebody to win it if it's a match. I'm going to go Stone Cold here. I don't know what we get. It could just be they sit around, next thing you know they're drinking beers, next thing you know it's stunners galore. But I'm going to go Stone Cold to win a match if we have a match.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just going to be something where we get to scream our heads off. It's going to be a lot of get the crowd over with the what's and all that good shit. It's great. It'll be a moment. Stone Cold's going to deliver. It'll be fun. It can't be bad. It's a payoff. And that's what wrestling does. So I'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. Let's get after it, partner.
Okay, let's move into night 2 now. And I'm going to save the best for last. So we're going to start with the worst part of night 2. Bobby Lashley versus Omos. Who do you have winning this?
Disgracefully almost wins it. It's going to be shitty, but you throw Bobby Lashley to the wolves. Black on black crime. Takes over night 2. What are you going to do? Hey, it's not the way I would have went, but that's what they're doing. And it's almost. Man, cuz, I'll be honest, we've joked around that a lot of people need mouthpieces. For some reason, when Omos talks, I feel like he's going to have a heart attack. Or like, it's like he's got that slurred speech of a monster. He needs a female mouthpiece. He needs someone to talk for him. I don't want to hear that, I loved Andre the Giant, but when you hear him talk, it was kind of like that. I want to kill you, Adam. I don't think that I'm going to let you win, Adam. And you're like, I think I understand what he's saying, but it's like he's got his hand over his mouth and it's garbled. I don't want to hear, like, when he was talking to Bobby Lashley, I was like, oh, I will kill you, Adam. I will kill you, Bobby Lashley.
It's like almost take the marbles out of your mouth.
Yeah.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. And then the best part is he'll do an interview probably one day and he'll be like, oh yeah, I just had to force myself to breathe. And he has a deeper, like, no, just don't talk. Please do not talk. So, almost wins it. Big guys rule. And Bobby Lashley, unfortunately, is gonna, be the loser in this one.
I mean, we talked about it earlier in the show. I don't think WWE values Bobby Lashley, so almost gets the dub for sure. All right, triple threat match. It's for the tag team champions of Raw. RK Bro versus Street Profits versus Alpha Academy. Who do you have winning this?
Does it happen? I mean, it literally is being told that Randy Orton's going to turn. He's going to get pissed. Why would he get pissed? Because he lost at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. It's Street Profits, baby. It has to be the Profits. And it could be a simple mistake made. Riddle maybe goes for the, RKO, misses it, mistakes, and then Randy Orton, boom, gets livid, and we have the feud for the summer. Riddle versus Randy Orton, that'll draw some money. So you have to have them lose. So it's going to be to the Street Profits.
Yep, I think Street Profits win it as well. I would love to see Riddle turn on Orton. I think that'd be much more interesting. It'd be more fascinating, but I'm in lockstep with you, the Street Profits. Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. I'm going to go Johnny Knoxville. I don't know why. Just throwing it out there. Don't really care about this match.
Oh, maybe it'll give me a chance here. I got to go Sami Zayn. I mean, do you really disrespect Sami Zayn to that point where Johnny Knoxville wins the match? Oh, I mean, come on. I don't think so at all. It's going to be Sami Zayn. Well, let me see. So if he gets disqualified, he would win. See, is there a finish? I could see that as well, but I gotta go Sami Zayn. I can't see Johnny Knoxville. I mean, that would be a low mark for Sami Zayn. My jaw would drop. Sami Zayn wins it.
All right. So next match, Pat McAfee, Austin Theory. I'm going Pat McAfee in this. I think Austin Theory's done a really good job of being a thorn in Pat McAfee's side, and McAfee wants to destroy and obliterate him. I'm going to go McAfee on this one.
Yeah, I could see it as well. I mean, McAfee's an underrated wrestler, guys. He has a ring. He knows how to do it. He's been in a match before. So this is a guy that WWE is taking advantage of his audience, and best thing to do, because you give the audience what they want. You got to give McAfee an opportunity to have a spot and do his thing. So absolutely, I think McAfee wins.
All right, we've got the Women's Tag Team Championship. Now this is a fatal four-way. Queen Zelina and Carmella, who I know you're a huge fan of. Naomi and Sasha Banks versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler with no eyebrows. Who do you have winning this one?
Man, that's a good one, huh?
There's a lot here. I mean, you could make an argument for, I think, just about everybody but the champions.
Yeah. Well, just real quick, if you pick the champions, what reason would you have? Do you think this time? I mean, I look at this match and I feel like that title is undervalued. Mm-hmm. This is the SmackDown Women's Tag Team Championship. It doesn't feel important, does it? Kind of feels like this one might be a bathroom break kind of match, right?
For sure.
See, I don't see a reason why the champs would keep it. I mean, God, yeah, I'm a fan of Natalya and Shayna Baszler and what they're doing. Mm-hmm. Queen Zelina and Carmella, I don't see the value other than, yeah, it's cute. They have a belt. It has the feel of Sasha Banks and Naomi being the best team to win it. So I'm going to go with them.
Okay. I like that pick. Like I said, you could make an argument for every team in here excluding the champions, which is weird to say because I don't see any value with Zelina and Carmella having it. The only thing that they really bring to the table is they're very nice to look at. Naomi, Sasha Banks, I mean, one is incredibly athletic. The other one is one of the best wrestlers, one of the best female wrestlers in WWE. Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. There's this push for Liv Morgan, or there has been this push for Liv Morgan. Rhea Ripley, I think, is trying to figure some things out still. After losing her NXT championship to Charlotte, she kind of has been in a little bit of a tailspin, and they're really kind of pushing this tag team thing on her. So there's something there. I just don't know if they know what it is. And Natalya and Shayna Baszler, I think they could be an absolute force. Like, Natalya is arguably the linchpin of the women's division. Like, she is slow, steady, and she is the Rock. You know what I'm saying? She is not basically at the very, very top, but she is definitely a foundational piece of the women's division. And Shayna Baszler is somebody who, I don't know how they screwed it up. I don't know how they haven't gotten her more over because she's a legit badass. She is Ronda Rousey, but I think she's a little bit more comfortable in her own skin. I think Ronda at certain points is very uncomfortable being Ronda Rousey. Shayna Baszler is a little bit more comfortable, and she is somebody who could legitimately beat the shit out of half the men on the roster. I am going to go with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, purely based on Rhea Ripley is incredibly over with the crowd, and there was this push, and Liv Morgan is super over with the crowd. There was this push for Liv Morgan, and it kind of fizzled, and I think it comes back, and it's because of this match. So I'm going to go Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. Edge versus AJ Styles. Long time ago, a good close friend of mine, actually my cousin, told me, you never pick against AJ Styles. Till AJ Styles loses, that's the only time you pick against him. So I'm going to go AJ Styles in this one.
Oh, man. See, you picked it. Maybe this is my chance here. Here's the problem, okay? Edge feels bigger than AJ Styles. Isn't that crazy? AJ Styles, it's crazy. I love AJ Styles to win this match. I love it too, but you have this badass character in Edge. This one has a feel of another match. So here's the problem, okay? Where's AJ Styles been in the last year? What reason do I have other than the fact that I love AJ Styles to give him this match? I think it's going to be a good match. This would be the match where you say, okay, you bring in Edge to elevate AJ Styles, but it just has the feel that Edge is the bigger wrestler, the better wrestler, just a little bit better. But this one, I would, if I'm creative, I would just end it with a 1-1 where Edge wins at Mania, AJ Styles gets over, and you continue it. This one deserves long-term storytelling. So you started off, if AJ Styles wins, the story's over and it's done. So you're absolutely right that, picking AJ Styles is smart. It's the right thing to do. But something tells me it's going to be Edge. He's the heel. He's going to cheat. He's going to screw AJ Styles, or something's going to happen where you got to keep this going. You have to. One and done is leaving money on the table. So, a situation in which, I think you might get the point here on a technicality because Edge will cheat. This one might be a wonky finish where there's some chair shots. There's some disrespect of AJ Styles, and he'll win via DQ. So I could see that happening as well, where you don't have a finish. But for right now, I can't go against my gut. I love AJ Styles. I think he's a premier wrestler. He's got it. He's got all the tools, but he's not bigger than Edge. And we got to see how it plays out. So luckily, this is on Sunday, so I can cry to myself for not picking AJ Styles if he wins. But I got Edge.
All right. I don't think you can really go wrong with either guy. You can make an argument for both. We'll see what happens, though. This is probably the toughest choice that we have to make. This is title versus title. WWE has been a little bit unclear if this is a unification match, but we've got Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, versus Brock Lesnar, the WWE Champion.
I think it really is a unification match. They've been talking about one belt, and I think it's for one belt. I think they are going to unify it.
Okay, so here's the thing. If that's the case, if it is for one belt, it makes my decision that much easier. And it is because Fox really pushed hard to get Roman Reigns. I think NBC, who owns USA Network, really wants Roman Reigns. I think they both appreciate Brock Lesnar, but I think the money is in Roman Reigns. And because of that, if it is a unification match, I'm going to go Roman Reigns.
You have to, because here's the thing. This is going into legendary status. You could continue this, but, I mean, it kind of has a feel of an ending, right? They've done this before at Mania. And remember, WWE does a good job of dropping hints, okay? And remember what Roman Reigns said in a promo maybe 2 weeks ago. He said, I'm so livid and pissed that I didn't beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Remember, Brock has a win, I believe, over Roman Reigns in a high-profile WrestleMania match. So you have to bring it full circle. You have to let Roman Reigns take this to the next level with the bloodline. So you're absolutely right. And if I'm wrong, correct me at Detroit Podcast. Memories get murky with all the hours of wrestling and WrestleManias, but I believe I heard it because it stood out. Roman Reigns said, I'm pissed that Brock Lesnar beat me at WrestleMania. So in my opinion, I think it's got to be Roman Reigns. He's it. I mean, bro, it's literally is the culmination and the reason why you can validate WWE's storytelling. When his music drops, he can sit there. It takes 6 minutes to get to the ring, but you like all 6 minutes.
Yeah,
you don't get bored. It's like, dude, it's important, and that's the guy you want to carry to the future. A 2-3 year run. This is what WWE has been clamoring for, and now you let Roman get it until next WrestleMania, until you get the next big star. He's the biggest star. Brock, I think, should then come back at SummerSlam or something else and take on new challenges. It's been fun, but this has the feel of a lot of things going in Roman Reigns' direction. Roman Reigns wins it.
All right, so that's going to do it. Real quick to recap, night 2. We both have almost winning. We both have the Street Profits winning. Me and you are different with Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville. I've got Knoxville. You've got Sami Zayn. We both have Pat McAfee winning. You've got Natalya and Shayna Baszler winning the Women's Tag Team Championship. I've got Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan winning. We differ on AJ Styles and Edge. I've got AJ Styles. You've got Edge. We both agree the main events of night 2, we each have Roman Reigns winning. What is being called the main event of night 1, we both have Stone Cold winning if there is a match. We both have Ronda Rousey winning the SmackDown Women's World Championship. We both have the Usos winning the Tag Team Championships. We both have Drew McIntyre winning. We both have whoever is going to be Seth Rollins' mystery opponent. We've got that person winning. We both have the Mysterios winning. And we both feel Bianca Belair will leave WrestleMania as the new champion of the women.
Okay, so we got, I think in total, maybe just 2 different matches with Sami Zayn and Edge and AJ Styles. So that'll be good. We could end up
the women's tag team championship match as well.
And the women's tag team. So there's an opportunity. So good stuff there. I think there's an opportunity for us to really have a fun card, and it'll be a good time. So, all right, cuz WrestleMania weekend is going to be great. And then highlighted by the Raw after Mania. Oh my God. It's going to be great. A good time. All right, cuz hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes.
So you alluded to it. Monday night was a little bit of a mess with WWE screwing a couple of things up. So a few wrestlers were advertised for matches that they were not a part of when they were in Pittsburgh on Monday. Most notably, Ronda Rousey, who was supposed to compete in a tag match with Bianca Belair and take on Charlotte and Becky Lynch. However, WWE did not send her plane ticket to get to Pittsburgh. Also, Alpha Academy was notably not involved in the ending segment on Raw as the Street Profits jumped RK Bro. They were absent and no reason was given as to why. So here's hoping that they're okay and that their match can go on just fine, and we'll see kind of what happens as WrestleMania unfolds. Now, speaking of WrestleMania, we do have some rumors that are swirling. One big one is that Shane McMahon might pop up at the show of the Immortals. So reports are that Shane is in Dallas at WrestleMania 38.
Shut your dirty whore mouth!
Speculation is he may be Seth Rollins' mystery opponent.
Oh, God.
So, oh God is right. So you got the potato maker with Shane McMahon. You got possibly the Undertaker. You've got Cody Rhodes. You've got a litany of guys that it could possibly be at WrestleMania for Seth Rollins to take on. Now, per Fightful Select, there is significant interest in Ember Moon. Obviously, Toni Storm just debuted at AEW, but there are reports that AEW is extremely interested in Athena. That's what her new name is. That is Ember Moon. There have been some light talks between the former NXT Women's Champion and AEW. So we'll kind of see what unfolds here. They are doing this big push to kind of reinvigorate this women's division. So your next new competitor might be Ember Moon. Also, sticking with AEW, there was a monster argument between Tony Khan and this notable wrestler that happened last week. Last week, MJF did an interview with Ariel Helwani, during which he spoke very highly of WWE and played to the idea that his AEW contract is coming up in 2024, and he might be weighing his options. Well, it turns out AEW president and CEO Tony Khan wasn't too happy about the interview, but it wasn't for the reasons that you might think. It was not because he praised WWE. It was not because he leaned into his character and really embraced it, and it was not because he talked about his contract. According to Fightful Select, Khan and MJF had a heated discussion because MJF did not get the approval of AEW's PR team before going and doing the actual interview. And you and I know this because we have tried to get a couple different guys from AEW on this podcast, and it is very difficult because you have to go through their PR team in order to do it.
Now, real fast, I think that's funny because it bridges the gap, too, a little bit with the podcast. I hate that. Here's how it should go, okay? Now, I get it that PR is important. You don't want to go on the Jack and you don't want to go on the Jack and Jill podcast, and they're a podcast that talks about conspiracy theories and things like that. But that should be at the discretion of the guest. Like if someone calls me and says, "Hey John, I want you on the podcast," I look at it and all I do is I go to their site and I don't look at their numbers or things like that. I look at their topics. Okay, they talk about sports. They're not a cooking show. They're not a show that's unrelated to the world of sports. I hate the idea that you have to go through somebody, because then there's the other side of it is where, hey, if I'm a boy with somebody and I go, "Hey, you're on my podcast," he's like, "Okay, I'll just show up on it." You know what I mean? I hate that idea because that's how it is in pro sports. It's frowned upon that you just ask a guy through Twitter or something, "Hey, come on my podcast." And then the PR is like, "Why'd you do that?" Because of relationships, and I get it. You don't want to piss off this and that, but it shouldn't be that way. If I'm the head of something, I'm like, "Look, don't make me come down on you for the choices you make. Be an adult. Go on the podcast. That's reasonable. But do whatever you want. You're talking. I mean, all I would say is make sure they promote AEW Dynamite on Wednesday on TNT, and make sure that when you go on these shows, say these couple things that promote. Say my name. Say I enjoy working for Tony. Say things that are nice and things like that. I wouldn't regulate too much other than promoting the company that you're at. But I hate the idea of this PR situation where you got to contact somebody and then they got to what they do nowadays. They say, "Well, what are you going to ask?" It's like, what do you mean? What am I going to ask? I'm going to ask what his favorite cupcake is. I'm going to ask about wrestling. I'm going to, and of course I'm going to ask about some things that potentially could draw some news about the contract or something like that, but that's given. So I just hate that whole system. It's bogus because then like the likes of a Pat McAfee, he's boys with Aaron Rodgers. He's not going through the PR staff of the Packers. They met up in Cabo. He's like, "Yo, you were teammates with AJ Hawk. Great. AJ, kind of, tell him what we're about." And he's like, "Okay." And AJ Hawk earns his value. He gets, that's how we did it. Yep. Early on, it was a little bit more open. And as we progressed, I noticed it too. It's like, you got to go through, now sometimes you got to go through a couple people, approvals and shit like that. And I'll be honest, some of the people that we've interviewed have asked us to send them the stuff before we air it. And I'm like, oh God, seriously, they've never asked to change it. They just want to make sure that we're not out there going, "Hey, draft prospect X. Why do you want to be drafted by the Lions and only the Lions? And the Lions, why would you be devastatingly sad if you're drafted by the Colts? It's like, come on. We're not doing it like that. We're normal people having conversation with the intention of drawing a little bit of attention. So I hate that. I hate that you put that out. When I saw that, it just set me on a rant. I'm like, God, it's so annoying, because that's why we don't have too many more guests, because I don't have time to wait for the back and forth bullshit with PR staffs. The PR staffs are actually worse than the people you deal with. The people you deal with are like, sure, what time, when, all right, no problem. And then they go, oh shit, sorry, I gotta go through PR. It's like, no, the process of getting guests is so pure, so natural, and the PR staffs fuck up everything in the creative process. And for me, for one, am pissed off at the whole process.
Yep, I agree with you 100%. They do make it much more difficult. Dave Meltzer was able to add a little bit to this story, basically saying that the heated discussion did happen. Any issues between Khan and MJF have now been resolved. Again, it's no secret WWE is interested in MJF, so we'll kind of have to wait and see what happens when 2024 rolls around. Now, again, I feel he was just kind of leaning into his character really, really hard, but he does always speak really glowingly of WWE. I don't think he'd be a great fit in WWE, though. He doesn't do a good job with scripted promos, and let's be honest, he's kind of a short guy, and WWE likes their guys about 6'1", about 220 pounds. So that's not MJF. So we'll see what happens. But that's it for this week's wrestling news and notes. Here's to a fantastic WrestleMania weekend.
Just over 60 minutes of madness. I love it. The Middle Eastern Madman and the Polish powerhouse, Adam the Jock Strozinski, have done a great job recapping it. I love the fact that people message us and ask what we think about wrestling on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Make sure you ask Adam as well. Polish powerhouse, not taking any bullshit from anybody, at Adam R Stroz. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Detroit's finest dickheads, riling it up, causing problems since 2013. We love professional wrestling. We love the angles. We love the personalities. And it's something that when we broke it off into a separate podcast, I said it's going to be perfect. And it's been a joy. I get up early. Adam sets a time now earlier than the call time. We used to go later, so that means we've turned the corner where Adam's like, I'm up earlier. I mean, that means Adam's getting older, and that's great for us on the weekends. It's an amazing thing. And stay tuned. Potentially a fun guest next week to recap WrestleMania. Man, I can't wait. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have some cocktails, some drinks. My nephews are coming over, so you'll get to watch it through their eyes as well. So we'll have a good time. Night one, WrestleMania tonight, along with the Final Four. You can't get better than that. Thank you for downloading the latest edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.